Just wanted to take a picture to show you guys what a Staghorn Sumac, native Staghorn Sumac looks like compared to the variety that I bought online. These ones you can see, they have really nice red leaves in this season. Usually go from kind of a yellow to this nice scarlet. They're called Staghorn Sumac partially because of the way that they branch. They don't really seem to get a very thick trunk. You can see this curved line here comes up. These are older trees that have been out here for a while, or shrubs, so the internodes are spaced apart. I think they're going to be a little closer on the variety that I am going to be bonsaiing. I'm trying to capture the leaf color. You can see the branchlets. They have quite a number of leaves on them. They're usually coming in the spring, a nice dark green, shiny on the surface, and then a duller on the backside, considerably lighter and duller. I was hoping to find a female out here, but I'm not seeing them. They normally have a flame-shaped seed. It's called a drupe, I believe. It's got the seeds and the flowers built into one organ. Usually coming directly off the top of the tree, and they look like little flames. It actually is really nice in the wintertime. They have a really nice outline once the leaves have dropped off. Let's see if I can find some other ones here. Here's another set right here where they stand out real nicely against the green of the rest of the foliage plants that are behind it. If I come in a little closer, on this side you can see the color change from green into like a greenish yellow, and then into these really lovely reds. Again, these might be the males. I'm not seeing any with the drupe on top that they normally have. Oh, shoot. This one branch came off, unfortunately. But you can kind of see how beautiful they are. So yeah, really lovely, native. Here's the larger grouping. You can really see that color really does pop. These over here, another really nice. This is probably one of the thickest trunks that I've seen. You can see where the branchlets have fallen off and the buds are, I guess, setting for next year. These kind of grow in this branching way that is probably why they're called staghorn. Just the way that these branches branch off. It's hard to video them in the bright sunlight or in the shade, just because they're color that they are. But you can see they kind of stretch out over other shrubbery, bushes and small trees to get their share of the light. And these are probably the tallest ones I have on my property. And you can see how the branching comes all the way back down to that base. Right down there. Comes up this way and then branches out. They're really interesting, I think. They're not, I don't think they're a true tree, but they're definitely in the shrub category, I guess. But they can get pretty tall. They're native, the birds like them. Apparently you can make a sort of a lemonade type of a drink out of the drupes. There's a method of like picking them, soaking them. I'm not sure if they have to be boiled as well, but they kind of fall into the sort of edible group of natives. Trying to get the tops of that one right up there. Very nice. I've never seen one bonsai, but I'm very interested to try. Welcome back to Bonsai Druid. These are two of my newest trees. I got them earlier in the year. These are Staghorn Sumac. The scientific name is Rus typhina. It's a variety called Tiger Eyes, which I believe is a dwarfed version of the natural. And also the leaves have a bit of a different cut to them. I don't know if you'd call this a cut leaf variety. This is a normal sumac leaf. It's kind of small because it came off the top of one of the sumac trees, so it was like an earlier, younger bract or branchlet. So the leaves on this are pretty small. The leaves on the actual ones out in my yard are like 3 times, each of the little red leaves is 3 times this size, and the bract is probably easily 3 times this size. But this variety has a little bit of a different shaped leaf. Let's see if I can close in on these. Much more like lobed along the sides, real narrow and pointy at the tip, narrow all over, but still the same bract shape, although when I look right here on this one, I can see that there is almost like other little leaves, like right here, coming off of a bract, which I never saw in the native wild version, this one. This one only I've ever seen leaves along the stem, not a leaf having a branch. It's kind of a good thing because it might mean that I can use that to possibly make finer branching. I also wanted to show you, for people who are unfamiliar, this is called Staghorn Sumac because the way that it branches as it grows, but also more for the fact that, I'm not sure if I can get you to see this. It's furry. Let's see if I can focus that. It's kind of hard to see. But this has a fuzz to it. Not sure if it'll show up any better like that. Here, let me try this light. See if I can pick up the fuzz. Oh, that doesn't help. There's like little fine hairs. Oh. I think I almost got it. And right here. You can kind of see this little reddish. That's furry. You can kind of see it out on some of the branches too. But that furry is like the velvet that white-tailed deer get here when they're getting ready to lose their antlers. This is the second one. Again, I'm not sure if you can really see the fuzz there. A little bit along the branches. It also, this variety seems to have more shorter internodes than the wild version outside. I believe they are own root. They're not grafted that I know of. But they are ready to shed their little branchlets here. My issue is they are still in the soil they came in, and I want to make sure that there's no root rot. I've been getting concerned because this kind of started losing its leaves early, and I just want to check it out and make sure. You can see the beautiful color changes that it does in the fall, so it can be really pretty. Also, I wanted to show you, I think it was on this one, this little bract here was attached. I think it was right here. Oh, it was right. Where was it? It's on one of these right here, because it just came off earlier today. Oh, is this one? So this bract was growing right here earlier, and then it came away because this one's basically dead. You can see along the leaves are totally brown, but underneath that is where the new bud is. It's actually in this little enclosed end of this branch, and it has a fair number of buds all over it, so like up these stalks. It's probably going to lose all these bracts, so it'll just be these I'm going to call them primary branchings for the moment. They make a really cool silhouette outside, just because that's all you see, and the older they are and the more branching of these there is, it just has a really nice winter silhouette. Oftentimes there will be a flame-shaped, usually this color or even darker red, flame-shaped, what it's called a drupe, D-R-U-P-E, that forms on the tops of these, and it looks like almost like red flames coming up off the tops of each of the branches. That is like their seed and flower built together. I guess you can make a sort of a lemonade type drink out of it by soaking it and boiling it and then cooling it. Never tried it, but we're going to get into digging these out of their soil to double check their root systems before fall progresses any further, because I would hate for them to have been suffering from root rot all this time. This is a much more dirt-driven, mulchy soil that it came with from the nursery that they were ordered. First edition Shrubs and Trees is the one that I got this variety from. I've always loved how they looked outside, so I thought, I'd like to bonsai one. And then when I tried to get something off of one of the trees out there, it didn't really pan out. And then I saw these, and I thought this cutleaf variety might look nice if I can get the size down. So we shall begin. Okay, here we go. Hopefully I can do this without making too much of a mess. Okay, so there's the bottom of the pot. It came out real easy. My main goal is, how wet is it? Do the roots look okay? It feels pretty soggy. Oops, that broke. Shoot. I really didn't want to remove any roots. I'm not in the process of really trying necessarily to remove any roots, or definitely nothing off the top, because I don't need to do that yet. But I do need to make sure that these roots aren't choking out. I'd really like to put it in pumice, to be honest. kind of soggy. And in the wintertime, you know, it can get hard to judge because they are indoors, so they're never freezing, but it can be kind of hard to judge whether or not they're at the point of needing water, you know, without letting them get overly wet underneath. I may move this into pumice, but I don't think that I have a basket big enough to put that. Yeah, see, this is really wet. I don't want this thing getting root rot. So I may have to put it in pumice, but it will probably still go back into that pot. But at least it'll be in something that's going to drain better, especially in the winter time when they're on the other side and I'm trying to water them and keep them in a state where they're getting enough water, but they're not sitting in water. I keep them up off the floor. They don't get below freezing. I mean, unless it really drops for a few days, it might. But even then, I have means to keep them from freezing. I've never in all these years had it freeze on the other side in the garage, so. My plan is to still provide them with light on that side because there are no windows on that side of the garage. They were closed over. And I'm going to provide some LED light just to make sure that they aren't in complete darkness, the ones that have to stay over there. I really don't want to go crazy clawing through this. It's going to have probably more woody roots because this does make like runners and rhizomes travel underground and spring up in the lawn elsewhere. Yeah, this mix is a little more heavy on the loam than the one that I did with the hazelnut, which was a lot more sandy and probably wouldn't have gotten waterlogged very much because it really was draining. But this is, I don't want it to be that tricky. I also need to see from the top where the base is of this trunk. Kind of a nice base there. I've read that you can take cuttings of these, so I'm not sure, or use like the runners that they send up, suckers or whatever. So when I get some, I will try. I'm hoping I can get the branching like I see on the bigger ones outside. I think the winter silhouette of these is really cool. I like the autumn color. I like the general shape all year of just how it looks in the yard. These can usually be either single trunk or more often multi-trunk, and Get it about 15 to 25 feet tall. I think this variety would probably be smaller, but the native one is about 15 to 25 feet tall. But they can be really wide across, if they're, especially if they're multi-trunk. A lot of woody roots. I would be hoping I would see something that was white, but I don't. It's probably because this is such a wet substrate. So I really do feel like I need to put this in pumice instead. It says they like a rich soil, but this is a little too much. There's no air in here. I never had one in a pot before, so it got a lot of watering, and we didn't have a whole lot of rain this summer. So it did get a lot of watering just to be sure that it wasn't going to dry out. But then when we did recently get some pretty heavy rain, and so then I had to back off the watering. But I have a feeling it's been a little overwatered this year just by me, because I wasn't sure what the soil was going to be like. And it was hard to judge the weight of it. A lot of times I just kind of go by the weight of a pot, but these pots were always kind of heavy, and I didn't know what was in here. It's got roots. I hope they're all still good. There is sand in here, it's just the ratio of sand is not as high as it was with the last video that I did for the hazelnut. It won't be much longer, it'll have lost all of these leaves, so. Chunk fell out on the underside of it. See, now that was under the middle. And I can squeeze water out of this pile of black. So I'm glad I went in here, because I got a feeling that that inner root might be, if it's not already lost or over soggy, then it might be just a close call. That came out of right under here. This seems like it might be close to the base of the tree, but man, it's really compacted. I don't like that. Let's see if I can loosen up whatever's here. The nice thing is there isn't really any kind of giant long taproot. There's some big long roots, but they're more winding and up here. So at least I don't have to really hack anything off to get it down. At least not right now, I don't think. Yeah. Everything grows one way or another way. Yeah, a lot of these in the future may be trimmed because they're backing, like going back on each other, backtracking. If I cut them shorter, then they could straighten out. But I don't think I want to do any of that right now. I just really want this tree to, both of them, hopefully, to survive. I usually end up with one that survives and one that dies. I'd like to have both of the trees that I paid for survive. They are alive. Looks pretty good. This is a pretty tolerant tree. And it is supposed to be kept moist in the first few years while it's growing and developing. But then after that, it's pretty drought hardy. And it can take a, I'm in zone 5, so we get some crazy weather. Real hot, real cold, big fluctuations. Oops, I broke that. Ooh. Okay. I can get the most amount of spaces that I can open up to let there be pumice in there. The better off way should probably be. Also help to get some of these branches actually growing in a radial fashion, which they start to, but then obviously from being in that pot they've curled. So now I don't know whether I need to shorten those. No. How did that go to? So over here. So see here, this was way up here, but it's actually way down there. This thing just needed to get out of that pot. That's what it needed. Inside here feels like there's a lot of like peat. Some kind of moss. Peat. It's very mushy. Okay. Okay, this big root right here, there's not really a lot of fine rooting on it except back up here. So guess what? We're going to do what I never say. I always say I'm never going to do it, and I always end up doing it. Like every time. But I don't know. I can't just let it go and be squished all up again. So we're going to take this off here. Now, what I took off was this. Let's see, then right here, I can feel this other elbow comes up, goes down, goes around, and it's actually over under here. Okay. I hope with this more open soil that it will be going into that it'll make some finer roots, because I'm not seeing any really fine roots. Very minimal. I don't know if that's just the nature of this shrub to not have very much in the way of that, or what. Now, here's another crazy root that's going way over here, but it actually started way over here somewhere, I think. So I can see that it's got an exterior root growing this way, so I'm actually taking that right here, back to where there's some healthy looking stuff. These are usually pretty vigorous, so I really don't think that doing this is going to do anything other than make it feel better and grow better roots. Oops, sorry. Keep going out of frame. It's kind of hard to do this way because I am left-handed. So maybe you guys can see. Nope. I still have to do it this way. Here. The soil that I'm going to be putting this into is Scenic Hill Farms. It's like a 60-40. It's mostly inorganic, but it does have some organic material in it. I think in the form of fir bark. There's an enormous pile of soil in here. Let's see if I go through here. Like, see, there's a root that was wrapping. Really are just kind of winding in every direction. Let's see where it is going. It's coming off the side. Wow. Okay. Here we have another wild and crazy root. Does this root have anything going for it? It's got one there. It's got a little bit there. So I'm going to take it there. It still has these side branches to try and do something with. Or side roots for the moment. Well, I think we're getting to near the end. I'll just have to get the soil, and I'm going to look. I think I might be able to fit this into one of my pots that is shallower than that. Otherwise, and maybe a little bit wider, but at least shallower. This root is coiling around the trunk. Where's my stick? Oh. And it went down here somewhere. Found another clumpy bit right over here. There's a lot of things tangling amongst itself. So, okay, we've got oh, shoot. I am snapping off too many roots. These are very fragile. Like, they don't look it, but just trying to feel along. Feel for any more of the really bendy, like this one under here. It's not even showing any kind of fine rooting. It's just like a big tuber or carrot growing any old which way back up here. All the way back to up here. So let's try to clear out this spot here. See where that goes. So this goes again all the way back up in here. So these roots are big, but there's really not much of anything on them. Okay. Worked my way back over to this side that I've been trying to get through now for a while. It's another long thing with nothing much attached to it. Soil's still very wet up in here. I think we're as cleaned out as I'm going to mess with. Let me double check. Well, I got some finer roots under here. I could take off this other crazy carrot elbow. Get the roots in some sort of good direction. Okay. Let me get this soil out of my way. Roots out of the way. Okay, so I have gone ahead and did the second tree because it basically was just more of the same. You can see the roots. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of really fine roots. There's some, but we'll just have to go with this. This one had a lot of roots that just zigzagged and crossed underneath the bottom that I had to clean out because there was ones that were circling this trunk all around here. So I took those off because they're not going to do me any good to keep them. So I just might as well get them out now while the getting's good. I think I can do this one. Let's see. I think I can do this one in this basket. This round one, I think is just too small for it. This one will let it have a little more weight so it won't be too top heavy. And then this one, I did find one of my larger tie down baskets, grow baskets with air holes on the sides. So hopefully that'll help some finer roots grow. And that one's going to go in here. So I'm going to start with the first one. I wetted down both their roots to make sure they didn't dry out. Like I said before, the soil that I'm using is by Scenic Hill Farms. I think they're out of Oregon. It's a good size box. This is their larger size soil. There's a smaller one as well. I like them both, but this one will probably do a better job for these particular roots in order to give them good drainage, let them get oxygen, and not be too not get too compacted too soon. I got a ways to go building roots. So this pot doesn't actually need any prep. These are ready to go. Unless I wanted to tie it in, which I'm not going to do. You can see, oh, maybe you can't see. You can see how chunky that is. It's a nice size. Ugh, my lights are too bright. Maybe that's a little better. There you go. Oh, go in the bottom. Get a little cone shape going in the center there. In there, best I can. Obviously, it's good. Obviously, it's going to have other root prunings in the future. It's not like this is the be-all, end-all of this tree's roots. There's still a lot of room for improvement. The greater issue was just being able to get them out of that really, really damp soil before winter came, and it would be harder to monitor what's going on with them. Harder to tell if they were really still too wet when they were dormant. I've had this tree growing in my yard, but it pretty much grows carefree, and I've never had to bonsai it before. So I think when you take trees and try to keep them in a pot, there's a learning curve. How well will this tree do? What will this tree be like? You know, will it even survive this kind of an environment? This big root at the back, I don't know if I'll be able to save it, but we'll see. These roots are so open, it shouldn't be too difficult to get the soil down in where I want it to be. I can try not to have to cut off so many roots. I already had to cut off more than I wanted, but I don't know if some of these roots are going to stay under the soil. Let's see if I can actually put this in frame for a change. They're gonna keep sticking up, so they gotta come off. Alright. If anything, I need to tie some of the roots down and keep them down where they need to be instead of popping up. Don't really want to do any more damage to the remaining roots. Just trying to get this. So it's so cool to feel the trunks and feel how fuzzy furry they are. This way because I want to keep this trunk upright, not leaning. there, I need a rock. I have to remind myself that I need a rock there. Oh, sweet toy. Put this there for the moment so I remember that that's where the root is that I'm trying to keep up below the soil. It may not stay there and I may have to cut it, but if I can save it, I will. Let's see. These little guys are trying to stick out. No, get out from under. Don't touch my rocks. Give me those. Okay. Trying to get these roots to lay out in the direction I would like them to be in and not be moved. Like nothing on this thing. Alright. I hate to do it, but I gotta do it. Couldn't keep it under there. It's above the trunk line that I'm probably gonna have, so I had to go. Need some more rocks. Stay down below the soil. Trying to pop up. Okay, and this one's going to get soaked while I do the other one. I don't care how high I have to pile this up at the moment, but I know it's ridiculously high, but I got to let it sort of settle, and hopefully some of the roots will decide to stay below the fence. Oop, there's the piles holding down those guys. Okay. Now. Stop eating that. Where are you even finding them? Don't eat anymore. Crazy dog's trying to eat. Eat my rocks. Stop it. Okay, so here's the two of them, repotted, root trimmed, and hopefully in a looser and more porous and free draining soil. The one on the left is in a round tie pot. The one on the right is in a plastic rectangular basket. So I think they'll both be fine. The soil size is the same for both pots. It's a really large, loose mix of turfus, pumice, and lava. So it's still got some of its fall coloration holding on. I'll keep them pretty much in the shade now until they can recover a bit. I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out. Did not trim anything off the tops of them, except a couple things that may have broken off in the process of trimming them. But everything above the soil is going to wait until spring, when I'm sure of what's budding, what's alive, what's dead, and how tall I want them to actually be. I can't imagine I'm going to want them any taller than they are. I would just like some more branching. So we'll see how I will go about achieving that in the future. Thanks very much for watching this video, and stay tuned for more from Bonsai Druid. Thanks very much. Take care. Okay, now for the second one. I just have to prep this pot real quick, and we'll get that one in its pot. And then these guys can rest. I'm sure they'll be happy once they've recovered. Holes. It's unlikely that this soil would pass through the holes that I had put in this bottom of this basket, but might as well tape it ahead of time anyways. But the particle sizes are pretty big, so of this soil, so it's probably going to be fine. The handles, though, I will need to do because I'm probably going to put the soil in pretty high. Okay, that's done. Cotton here. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, we're going to put some soil on the bottom. Get this one in there. think these might be my last repots for the year. I believe almost all my trees have been repotted this year. Or if not this year, then they were repotted last year before I started doing videos. So these were the last trees I bought, and I think everything else got repotted already. So that's a good thing. This one little bitty guy, I wish he would go under there. All right. It's looking pretty good. It's a big difference from the mix they were in, but no, my stuff I order from nurseries comes in that same kind of very high organic, mulchy, peaty mix of stuff. And most of them get used to being into this type of a mix. I think this really open mix will give it a lot of opportunities to break down I don't think this uses a turfus, I think. An American version of Akadama. But it's nice and chunky, so it should settle really well among these roots. They're so open, but still give it lots of opportunities to make finer roots, I would hope. I feel like this one root is going to stay above the soil line. I may have to cut it off. I do like this variety. I'd still like to do a version. If these do well, I'm going to still try to do one of the native trees in the backyard. Try to get a sucker from it next year, or some cuttings, just to have the comparison of both of them in my collection. I've acquired quite a number of native trees over the past couple of years, actually, even compared to used to have little pomegranates, not native to where I'm at, obviously, Northwest Indiana. Sure, it'll grow here, but it won't survive our winter without help. Same with my jasmines, my ficus, all those trees. What else is over there? Oh, my jaboticaba. End up with a lot of tropical. My orange jasmine. But now I have these guys. I have my American elms, my wild elms. I'm not even sure what they are. I think they're not Siberian elms. They're not, I don't think, and I don't think they're Chinese elms. But they could be the horizon elm, because my backyard, it could have been one of the seeds from one of my own elm trees. Horizon elm is a hybrid of the American elm that is supposed to be more hardy against Dutch elm disease. And I have some river birch, American elm, the sumacs, hazelnuts, plus Harry Lauder's walking stick, which is another hazel contorta. Dawn redwoods aren't native, but they can survive in this climate. And I got the Kojo no Mai cherry, which again should be able to survive in my climate, even though it's not native. Oh, the Stewartia, not native. By far the most difficult tree I've ever attempted to work with for the third time now. Have had it all year. The leaves have not opened. The buds have literally been hanging fire all year. Okay, I think that one's done. It's gonna come off. This one will get a soak, just like the other one. Time for a bath. Get some more water.